Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're back in the Goblin Caves. It's Hotfix 18. Has come and gone last night around 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The servers came back online. Two substantial changes across the board. So we are now looking at a relatively fresh start on a relatively fresh design from Iron Mace. Essentially what they've done is taken some of the better ideas from about a month and a half ago with regard to limiting the power creep of higher level gear, and they have collapsed the high end of that curve substantially. So just to hit this in paint with broad numbers here, weapon damage and magic damage is now restricted to only a handful of slots that it can roll, namely jewelry, rings, necklaces, and weapons. The big problem in the game was really the stat creep, and the amount of stats available on gear has been greatly reduced, most notably by plus all is restricted to the next slot only, so you can no longer have +1 all plus weapon damage, and then another change was made to their kind of random gear stat generation algorithm that prohibits damage type rolling together. So you can no longer have, for example, in the old version of the game, you could have a pair of gloves that would roll with +2 weapon damage, +2 physical damage, for essentially what would be a +4, damage item. That is no longer possible. So it's hard to say. I'll tell you, playing last night was a breath of fresh air. It felt good again. The game felt fair. It seems like that with the stat crunching that they've done at the top end of the curve, it does seem feasible that a green equipped player has a shot at taking out a epic equipped player. It's not going to be easy, but there is like an outplay angle, an outplay vector that exists, whereby before that margin was so small as to be ignored. I'm looking around here because, I saw the Warlock. He ran into the other room, and now he's laying here dead. I'm trying to figure out what happened. He tried to Hellfire me in the back and then walked into his own Hellfire and died. So, welcome to the game, buddy. We're glad to have you. Thanks for the treasure you picked up on my behalf. Anyway, good changes, I think, all the way around. It'll, of course, take a couple days to a week to really feel the full impact. I think the new player experience still needs a lot of discussion and a lot of talk, because they still get kind of thrown into the deep end, and it's not going to be too long before you see, Giga Chads running around in Goblin Caves with full epic gear, just beating up on Timmies. That problem is unsolved yet, but at least, I don't know, at least you have a fighting chance, where before it was just laughably impossible for you to really present any kind of real challenge to these guys. Other big changes that hit the game, for not so much for Goblin Caves, but for crypts, they have introduced static portals. These look like archways with corresponding blue or red runes around the outside of the archway, and they'll light up at some point in the map. In our playing last night, we found several blue and several red at new locations in crypts. The blue ones lit up really early, so we had within the first couple minutes of a match, we found an open blue that was just sitting there. And just so you guys know, that's a one-player exit. Whether or not it recharges, we don't know, because we kept moving on after one player took it. But that blue portal is kind of like a guaranteed exit for somebody. And we found a red, and 3 of us were able to take the red at around the 3-minute mark, 2:30 mark. It opened up, and we all just walked in it, went down. So the last big change that went in yesterday is they've kind of rebalanced how gear is dropping. And my preliminary feeling about it is that it feels a little light compared to where we were last patch, but that's probably a good thing. I'll come back to you with a more mature point of view after a couple days of seeing the impact, but chests are still where it's at. Lion's Head, golden chests in particular, are really what you want to be focusing on. This has the best drops. You are now consistently, more consistently seeing white gear and green gear, and blue gear is considerably rarer in normals, and epics are extremely rare in normals. But that's probably how it should be. Looking at some gameplay footage from last night for High Roller, it seems like High Roller is relatively unchanged, which means that the risk to reward scenario for High Roller is, way above normal, which is how it should be. There should be a good incentive to take the High Roller option to go in and gear faster, get better equipment. I think that's the design intent, the path that Iron Ice is on, and there is enough of a gap there now to really, I think, drive the appropriate players who are seeking that challenge, that gear, into those games, which is fantastic. That's something that's been missing a lot of the time up to this point. So, I think the Static Portal Edition really is going to open up some more valid options for playing the game. Ratting has been very difficult in Crypts. Basically, Rogue was the only class that could reliably do that, and I'm putting heavy air quotes around reliable because, oftentimes, particularly in high roller sessions, you get pushed to the middle of the circle so quickly that, one group sits and gatekeeps all of the portals very effectively, and you simply can't get out. Now, with the addition of these static exits, it is a lot easier to be a rat of any class and still get out, which is going to open up a lot of gameplay options, I think, kind of across the board. We're going to need a couple days to see how the meta, the three-man comp meta, kind of shakes out. A lot of discussion internally and across the internet right now is showing that everyone believes that Buffball is still going to be the dominant comp. And we're still going to see, Bard, Cleric, Barbarian, or Bard, Wizard, Barbarian as kind of the oppressive comp. Ran into a couple of it last night. Did not have as much problem as I anticipated in terms of bringing down the Barbarian. I'm really going to chalk that up to the current gear level, being pretty low, a couple arrows to the face, and they're already at half hit points. That's going to change. You might have seen in the patch notes as well that they made some changes to longbow and crossbow. Crossbow definitely got the more severe changes there with you can no longer hot swap in crossbows. Like, you shoot one, it's now empty, so you swap in a already loaded one out of your inventory. They've added a significant, re-equipping timer to that, which is going to bring down, that playstyle a little bit. And then also, the top-end damage on crossbow has kind of been brought down across the board. Now, with longbows, it looks like they only crunch the top end. So, green, blue, purple, unique, all of those guys had their top-end damage brought down, but they did not adjust the gray, white, or really green damage on longbow, so they've really just kind of brought down the very top end of what longbow was capable of. Longbow still feels really good. Yeah, it feels pretty much the same as it always has, which is, my go-to pick for ranged weapons on Ranger. It's still by far my favorite, and I think it probably will continue to be. You can see here in this Goblin Caves recorded at noon on Friday after the patch. We already have a rogue running around in epics. The difference is I could easily kill that rogue. He doesn't have the same kind of burst damage he did with stacking weapon damage before the patch. He doesn't have the same survivability from having the all stats that he had before the patch. So, that would actually be a quasi-fair fight. Now, what would happen is I would engage him. If I got him low, he would run, or if he got me low, he'd finish me. But, if he chose to go toe-to-toe and just stat check me in the caves, I probably would have beaten him on an almost no-gear cleric. That's my gut. So, yeah, stay tuned for more developments as kind of the impact of these changes shake out. Regardless, if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. I'm getting tons of views, but not a lot of subscribers, so come on, help a fella out. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one.